Well, it's huge, and it's like chalk and cheese. And startups aren't for everyone. And this is a question I get asked often, and as a recruitment professional and a co-founder of Xpheno, this is something which often comes up. And even people with about 15, 20 years of experience ask this question. They would like to give it a shot. Can they give it a shot? They've spent many years, so they get to a point where they want to explore. And my response often is to ask them in turn a set of questions. And I ask them if they're open, to work in an environment that's extremely fluid, to a point it can even be chaotic. How good are they in an environment which is extremely fast-paced? How would they feel like, if they were to be reporting to a 20-year-old, CEO or a manager? How good are they in dealing with ambiguity? So these are the questions that I ask them, and almost 90% of the time I don't, hear back from them. So I guess I've got my answer. So that's how it is. Yeah, working in a large company, large corporate, and some of them could be MNCs. One of the biggest attraction is the stability, of course. So having said that, large corporates have a structure, they have processes, they have technology, and they have sound business metrics. And this is what is quite inherent in a large corporate. They have tried and tested methods that if one follows, they could achieve success. While, for on the other side, when you're working with a startup, the primary thing is autonomy. And then the risk-taking, opportunity, the mindset that exists in those companies is the second thing. Also, exposure to multiple functions happens quite naturally in a startup because all the functions and roles are not well defined. So, since it's an evolving environment, a person joining a startup could get that kind of an exposure. And access to leadership, because the organization is flat, conversations across the organization happening, and that is an important, I would say, distinction, that most people have access to leadership. And quick decision making and a non-bureaucratic environment is another positive I would consider. So this is how I would compare a large corporate to a startup environment. Well, the learning, I wouldn't say learning is, of course, different in these two environments, but I would say the learning curve is quite steep in a startup because of the nature of the organization itself. And the whole organization is learning, and particularly if you're joining a new age company, everybody is learning as they go. The whole business model is evolving, the environment is unknown. So the challenges are quite new and unique. So I think the learning happens in an experiential way. But at the same time, when you join a startup, like I said, there are very well laid out structures and systems and process. Also, you get to learn from peers and seniors, in a corporate. While startup, obviously, since everybody's learning, there is really, no learning through peers and seniors, and everybody is going through that learning process. So I think the tolerance to errors and experimentation is very high in a startup, which is of course a big advantage. But in a large company, it's more well laid out. So I would say learning happens in both environments, but the nature of learning is quite different in both these environments. Well, there are some stereotypes, of course, and one can't generalize that all corporates, MNC or Indian, do offer good work-life balance. So it depends on the specific company and the current context of that company. So one can't generalize, but one can hope to have better work-life balance in a large company. However, in a startup environment, it's almost certain that you wouldn't have you can't expect that and it's not an environment for people, who are expecting good work-life balance because of the nature of business and the things that they're creating. They are trying to create 5x, 10x growth in a very, very short period of time. So because of the nature of these two environments, so most certainly in a startup one shouldn't expect, but in a large company it depends. Some companies do offer and some companies may not. So it depends on where you're landing. So that's how I think about it.